Maz for the drive home, and it's Monday, which means...
Maz for the drive home, building for life.
Joined in the studio by Jake and Nico from Dornford Building Group. Guys, how are you?
Yeah, fantastic. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, for a Monday.
Yeah.
Always love having these chats, talking about building and some of the maybe obvious things for some, but that are not so obvious for others. I kind of joke around and say it's building for dummies, not building for life. But I myself being the dummy because I know nothing about building. But today we're talking about the hidden costs of building and how to actually budget smarter. So where should we start with this, guys?
Well, it's always a hard one for clients to get their head around and wrap around what their budget is. And building is a beast in itself to try and unwrap and budget and whatnot. Even professional builders like myself can sometimes struggle getting the right budgets together. But no, one big thing for clients when they see these big home builders who do a substantial amount of homes say, hey, fixed price building prices on these billboards, but then what they don't know is it excludes all the groundworks, all the earthworks and the site works.
So it's not really fixed price in the true sense. Like there are other hidden fees as well.
100%. So one of the biggest things, and we run into it all the time, and we warn our clients and talk to our clients saying, hey, you do have a rocky soil, you do have hard earth, and your site is quite hilly. So make sure that when you actually look at a site and when you're working with a site, if there is a lot of earthworks to be taken into consideration, talk to your builder and ask for some assumptions, what they think going off of your site it could cost. And definitely when you're looking at these billboards and they say $250,000, $350,000 to make sure you actually read what the little star asterisk, what that says, because you don't want to get stuck in a position where you have to pay another $20,000, $30,000 without really knowing what to come up to. So that's probably just number one before you even, when you're breaking earth, it's always the hardest part, but normally when you get out the earth, you're normally fine.
Yeah, and of course, for those who don't know, that's just building in the ground.
Yeah, that's just digging dirt, digging footings, digging foundations. Yeah,
we're going real back to basics here. Okay. So, Nico, what would you say are some of the important other things to consider first up?
Yeah, so I think thinking about, your council and regulatory fees, you don't want to forget about any of the planning permits, and that's often not included as part of your building contract. Just depends on who you're going with.
Yep.
Sometimes it's billed as part of the whole thing, sometimes it's billed up front. So just making sure you have clarity on, what's included to get your council permissions, to get your planning approvals, to get your project through building rules consent. And, it just depends on the builder how they deal with that. Sometimes people go through, I think we spoke about in that very first episode, design and build versus design then build. Sometimes people do it all through, an architect or a draftsperson. And other times, if you've got a design and build company, the builder will tend to do that themselves.
Yep. So things like council fees, obviously the builder can help you with as well, that kind of stuff.
Correct.
What about other things like design changes? How would we navigate those in budgeting?
So in terms of design changes, I think what's really important to consider from sort of a planning perspective, whenever you change things, there's generally a cost involved for you.
Yeah.
So make sure that, if you're doing it,
before you get started.
And if you're in that design phase where you're still throwing around ideas, that's really where it pays to take the time to just make sure you know exactly what you want. Throw, ideas, feedback from your building designer to make sure you get the most out of them, because once you start, I guess, the actual building process, it is a lot more expensive and more complicated to actually get the changes through.
I think, as someone who is quite indecisive, I would struggle with, making decisions about things without physically seeing it all in place. Is technology these days getting more advanced in being able to also show you what things are going to actually look like a little bit more, like with AI and that sort of technology? Does that help with that? Because it means people are making less changes down the track because they can already kind of visualise what it's going to look like?
No, exactly, 100%. A lot of that actually does come with a cost. There's time involved in making sure that that you can set everything up, but you can do fly-throughs of your whole building to see what everything's going to look like from inside. Even do some interior stylings. There's also programs and places you can go where you can do a full live sort of VR walkthrough of your house, like in a warehouse. They lay it all out, your floor plan, and you can walk through that. So there's definitely a lot of changes coming in that technological space so that you can see it, but even seeing it on screen, it's not quite the same as seeing it in real life.
Of course.
Totally understand that.
And I think, maybe making some decisions around styling and design that are a little bit more timeless. So they're not things that are going to be, you're going to change your mind on in 10, 20 years.
100%, which is why we also, would recommend getting an expert involved. So if you're having trouble with, the design styles that you like, there's fantastic interior designers who can help you with that. People who are expert in the field, who do it every day, and who know it. When you're doing something like building a house, it's such a big investment, and you want to make sure that...
And once they get to know you as well, being able to tell exactly what you want, because I think that's one of the biggest struggles with any design sort of decisions is you sort of think, I mean, look, I have never built a house, but I would just imagine... I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want. Like, I might think I like this, or I might think I like these colours and this sort of thing, but then when you put it together, it doesn't work. So, 100%. Having someone who's actually a professional in that. Yeah,
another thing we should probably add, doing a budget for a custom home is completely different to doing a budget for a first-time homeowner building through a cookie cutter, as I say, homeowner.
Yep.
So the difference there is you go in and they'll give you a set of plans to then design to, and then you have the option to walk through their showroom and be able to upgrade a tap or a sink or different flooring, different tiles, floor to ceiling. So it is when you're with a big home builder, they've got showrooms where they'll show you, and
they can physically show you.
No, correct. They will physically show you what you can get with a custom homeowner, with a custom build. Someone spending $1 million plus. I would recommend it is very important to get your builder to be able to tender your project, and that sometimes comes at a cost before the full set of plans are ready, but they'll be able to give you ideas on what the things are going to cost. But then also, Nico touched on it before, having your interior designer there, she'll do all your cabinetry plans, she'll do all your bathroom plans, layout, so then you can get everything fully priced up to then know, all right, cool, this is what it's actually going to cost me. And then if it's going to cost too much, you can always scale it back. And then before you've even started building or signing the contract.
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay, there's a lot to sort of think about. Anything else that we've missed that we should chat about when it comes to budgeting smarter for the hidden costs of building?
I think we'll just throw a few practical tips out there to finish off. So make sure you ask for a detailed inclusions-exclusions list.
Okay.
We spoke about it briefly last time to make sure that it's in your contract, but just check with your builder, see what's included, see what's not included, so you know. And then also have a buffer. Yeah, correct. But have a buffer, 10 to 15%, so that you've got a little bit of contingency if things are not as expected underneath the soil, if there's something that, obviously you can't see into it, you can't see what people are going to unearth. So it's always good. We recommend 10 to 15% contingency. So if something does go wrong, it doesn't stretch you beyond your means. But then also making sure that you plan your priorities early. Did you have anything to add, Jake?
Yeah, there's another point we wanted to bring up. Like, you're building a beautiful home, and that is not the end of the project. You still have your landscaping, you still have your grass to put down, your driveways to put down, your letterboxes, your clotheslines. You want to, and Nico touched on it a second ago, you want to know what's included in your house.
Yep.
Is the driveways included? Is the stormwater included? Like, there are some builders that cheekily don't put stormwater into their pricing and don't put their driveways and don't put paths. So you just want to make sure that at the end of the day, because I've seen a lot of, when I drive around my area and whatnot, there are a lot of houses without driveways and without stormwater because it's just all dirt and dust. And so you want to make sure that you are putting a small allowance away for your landscaping.
Yeah, all those things that you probably wouldn't necessarily think of, especially if you're building a house for the first time.
Yeah,
correct. Those sort of little hidden things, but you do, like, you don't want to.
You need them.
You need them, and you don't want to have this beautiful home that looks unfinished.
Correct, 100%. Yeah. So talk to other homeowners as well. See what they found in the experience. There's always, things that they might have wished they've done differently. Get their feedback, get their experience to see, and what they thought and what you can learn from them as well.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
We're going to catch up again in a fortnight and look at dealing with builders, what's reasonable to expect. So things like timelines, communication standards, those sorts of things as well. I'm really intrigued about that too. If you've got a topic for Jake and Nico as well, let us know. 0430 25 1079. You can remain anonymous. Guys, we'll catch up in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Maz.